Taking a look at the markets, red all round, JSE under significant pressure today. Resources taking the biggest knock. Let's start off with the bottom of the top 40. Combine or down just over 6%. So too is Anglo Platinum. Anglo American also down 5.5%. Is this on the back of a strengthening dollar, capping gains in commodities, or is it about risk aversion?
I think it's a bit of risk aversion, maybe a bit of the dollar story. I think the big story really is we've had a massive run. Our market's up 15% in the last 3 months, but if we look at it, our market's up 15% in the last month. We've run very hard, and I think it's just a case of people moving in there. A little bit of worry about there, a little bit of bad data out of the US. They're taking money off the table, and today they were doing it aggressively.
When you say they took money off the table, do you think that we're going to be seeing more of a sell-off going forward from here, or do you think that it's going to be an opportunity to get into the markets and we could see some gains?
I've been coming on Mondays for week after week saying that the bull has to take a sabbatical, and maybe it would be next week, and I've been wrong every time. And in fact, last week I said to Bronwyn I wasn't going to comment. I think we're going to see a little more downside, not a heck of a lot more. We're down 3% today. We've maybe got another 5, maybe another 8% on the downside, probably mostly playing out this week into next week. And then I think the bulls will be back in charge, and then the buying opportunity. So for those folks who looking to buy, I would still be standing back. At the moment, this is for the shorter term guys, either be short, making money on the downside, or be out and watching.
Harmony down 2% on the dot, came out with results today announcing a 50-cent a share dividend, surprising the markets, and Harmony outperforming its peers.
Absolutely, and I mean, we were on there early this morning just after the open. Harmony was down 2% then, so it pretty much held it during the course of the day. And I got to say, I didn't think those numbers were so terribly exciting. I think when one digs into them, and the more you dig, the less thrilling they become. I mean, they really need that gold price to do a lot for them. But certainly the market seemingly disagrees, and it was down, but the rest of the market was down a whole lot worse. So oddly enough, it's down, but doing better than it appears.
Naspers up 1.5%, growth point a gain of just under 1%, Able a gain of 0.2%. Any specific reason these markets bucked the trend today?
Naspers has just been doing spectacularly well for a long time. It was below 200 not that long ago. I think a lot of people are pricing in some of their international internet assets, such as Tencent in China, although China was off 5.5% today, and I don't know what Tencent did, but I'm sure it probably came down as well. But I think people are saying if you look at a lot of the international internet assets, they've been largely discounted out of the price, or priced in at very, very low levels, and therefore people are looking at that for a buy. And Naspers seemingly just shrugging off the selling, still finding support out there.
Right, just taking a look, GDP numbers set to be released tomorrow. We spoke about it earlier today. Do you think it's going to be market moving?
I think it's going to depend what the number is. I mean, we're looking for 2.9 minus. I think the consensus is around 2.3, 2.5 down. If it comes in that sort of ballpark, the market's going to say that's fine. I think any worse than that, sort of 3% or worse, will accelerate the selling, and perhaps a little bit better than that will maybe slow it down. We need to get a number sort of below minus 1% to really sort of get the bears out of the way and the bulls back. And I think that we accepted that we're going to see another quarter of really negative growth.
Simon, it's sort of the end of earnings season here in South Africa. And just looking back at the earnings that we've seen, do you think that we've underperformed the rest of the world? But just also looking at our equity markets, we're going in tandem with the rest of the global equity markets, but we seem to be lagging on the economic front and the numbers front. What do you make of that disconnect?
I think it's a very good point. I think in many cases, yes, we did. And I think part of it's going to be because we're such a resource-based market. But when we look at results out from Anglo Plat with earnings per share down 90% or 95%, Anglo America, when we start looking at those numbers, they really were shocking numbers. But on the other side of the coin, when we look at our banks compared to global banks, particularly in North America and Western Europe, yes, they were having a tough time. Yes, earnings were down, but a whole lot less badly than the others had done. So it was really the industrials in the middle ground that were kind of therefore sort of set the balance to a degree, and I think they could have been perhaps more upside better from them. A lot of the car guys, Imperial and the like, had a tough time. I do think that it was a lot tougher out there than perhaps we would have thought chatting 3 months ago. The numbers saying that it's tough out there in almost any part of the sectors.
Oil price, it's been very volatile. We see it head towards $72 a barrel, then edge down again close to $60 a barrel. Why all the volatility in the oil market? Many say it's all about the US crude inventories that carry on disappointing, and then we get negative data, and then we get positive data, which then pushes the oil price higher.
Yeah, and then OPEC say they'll cut production, and yet in truth they're actually pumping more than they have in the past and the like. Oil is one of those massively complicated. In the one sense, it's so closely tied to global economics and the state of the global economy, global growth, and I think that jury's still out. I think that if they were forced to vote today, they would vote on the side of the green shoots, but I think they would rather say, can't we vote next week or next month or maybe next year? So that leaves uncertainty in the oil price, and then I think we start jumping to things like, what the US have got underground, the OPEC numbers, and then of course there's speculators out there. Seemingly the low 70s is the top of this range. That's really where it's hitting its head, and it's not been able to get through there. And chatting to a couple of folks who know a lot more about oil than I do, they say that the possible downside could be down into the low 50s.